Hello everyone. So it's been over 6 months since Nikon released their first full-frame flagship mirrorless camera. Now naturally Nikon had so many other mirrorless cameras, just nothing the DSLR size or full frame. This year the Z7 is the high pixel count model with 45.7 megapixels, and its high pixel density is probably the major selling point here. And looking at the megapixel counts, this is almost the same exact sensor as the Nikon D850, and of course it doesn't disappoint. The image quality from the sensor is fantastic, sharp and clean images with great dynamic range. It offers great specs at a price point we haven't seen before the year 2018. You know, especially for the video guys, Nikon really stepped up their game here. You get 40K 30, obviously you don't get 60 frames per second, unfortunately, or regrettably, but you do get the 10-bit HDMI out with N-Log. In continuous shooting for photographers, you get up to 9 frames per second, and ISOs go all the way up to 25,600. And of course, the Z7 and the Z6 include in-body image stabilization. It's a 5-axis image stabilization, by the way, which turns any kind of old crappy lens into a superb stabilized lens. So they keep making these cameras smaller and smaller, and as you can see here, if I want to shoot, I only hold it with like 2 fingers here, my 2 middle fingers. Yeah. So that does not make it comfortable. We're still waiting for the, I would say to Nikon, if you can, give me a larger body, maybe include bigger batteries, and give us more buttons. We all like buttons. We want to get to our settings really fast. Obviously we do have a touchscreen here, and that helps a lot, but having dedicated or programmable buttons is a godsend in some situations. So once again, I do have big hands, but the camera does feel very solid, very well built, and actually quite hefty. It doesn't feel cheap or light. There's some heft to it, and it just feels solid. I just wish it was a tiny bit bigger. I do prefer the size of the D850, in my opinion. There's really nothing wrong with the D850 body. Why don't you just make it mirrorless? Make it thinner so that you can have that flange distance, or move the sensor up, give me a bigger screen, or put more buttons in there. I actually like the D850 body, maybe because I've used it a bit more than this, but whatever camera you use at the moment the most, that's probably the one that you're gonna like the most, because you're just so in tune with it. So a little bit of complaining here about the customization, as the buttons could be improved. The customizations on the buttons could be improved as well. It's a bit limited compared to the D850, but the bodies are not the same. This is so much smaller, and it's kind of hard to switch between the two, the D850 and the Z7. It's not like it's really hard to switch, but if you're really counting fractions of seconds, it might cause you a delay when you're swapping between one and the other. A lot of it is similar, but then again, if you're really used to like lightning fast reflexes, there's differences between the bodies, how they work, and the button layout. So there may be a tiny bit drawback there to have the two if you're constantly switching back and forth. Just all in all, that could cause you to lose a tiny fraction of shots. Battery life. The battery life is great as well. Tiny bit worse, I would say, than the D850. Again, it uses the same batteries, and so far there's no option to get an extended battery grip. You can expect fewer shots as you tend to use the screen more, and also even when using the viewfinder, it's an electronic viewfinder, so that's gonna eat up into the batteries. Again, I still don't know why the vertical grip is not available. I think that's a definite banner on Nikon's part. Most people that I know would actually purchase the grip, including myself. I'm just not sure what Nikon is waiting for here. Another complaint about the body here is this single card slot. There has been a lot of complaint out there, and that it only has a single card slot, and you can only use the fast and also very expensive XQD cards. I myself never had a memory card fail where I wasn't able to get the images off of it. I didn't say it didn't fail. Some of them did fail, but I was able to recover the images. So certainly, and if you shoot a wedding and lose some images, that's more than scary. That's like, that's really threatening your business. But I did have a lot of hard drive failures. So I'd urge you to always create a backup whenever you shoot something important or store important pictures. It's always better to be safe than sorry. So if I were shooting weddings, I would set up the Nikon bridge and back up all the images to my smartphone. Just let it run, maybe turn down the quality. I was thinking here, these are just the backup images, and that 2 megapixels would be more than enough if you lose the pictures totally. The customers honestly may not even be able to tell in most instances that they only get the 2 megapixel image. Another complaint here is that this little eye cup thingy, there we go, that keeps popping off. And there's nothing new here. That's been happening to cameras everywhere. Whether it's Nikon, Canon, Sony, I think I just rip them off. So that's pretty standard. You can actually buy these separately if you do lose them. Typically that happens when your camera bag is pretty tight and you squeeze it in there, or if you carry it dangling on your strap and it just like rubs against your body. So you can keep losing these eye cups here. That's just a small complaint here. One thing that I really want to mention that I really like about this is the FTZ adapter. That thing is awesome. Just wish they offered more options like the Canon does, with the drop-in filter and control rings as well. The lenses from the older Nikon lenses work equally well on the Z7 as they do on your other camera bodies with the FTZ adapter. But if you're after the highest quality of optics, I think then you should upgrade to the Z mount, like the Z mount lens here, because these lenses are made to be sharper on the Z7 on mirrorless due to this flange distance and the large diameter. And you look at the diameter here, like this huge opening. So then the lens is able to, to focus light on the sensor more perpendicularly, and if that's the good word to use, the light rays hit it straight on, hence providing sharper images. Now, if you're into experimenting also with other various brands of lenses of all sorts of types and sizes, then then just get in like an aftermarket Z adapter, and I'm sure you can use even Canon lenses on the Nikon camera if you so desire. That's usually been the other way around, where you could use the Nikon lenses on a Canon camera. Alright, so one other thing here. There's just like a slight delay. See, it's off now. Before I can take a photo. It seems that on a D850 or the DSLRs, there's really no delay as soon as you turn it on. Like, you can just take a picture faster. So if your camera's off and you're trying to shoot your kids really quick, something's happening, you can miss a shot because it takes you a second longer to turn on your camera into this ready shooting mode. I mean, it's still extremely fast, but it's not like instant. Again, like some really minute points I'm complaining about here. Now, probably the biggest thing to complain is the continuous autofocus, AFC. We might have run into some problems where it actually does focus fast, but it's inconsistent. You know, it has its challenges in poor lighting situations or, you know, fast moving subjects. In a single servo mode, it's generally very accurate, and of course as well, you know, it's very fast as well. But in a continuous, it kind of tends to miss some shots. Phase tracking, you know, mostly that is also very accurate, but in good lighting and in simpler scenes. You know, if your scene becomes very complicated, then it might miss a focus or back focus on you. You know, just focusing is not on the same level as on a D5 or D500. You know, with those cameras, you know, it just doesn't miss a beat. The keeper rate of images, you know, the birds of light from like a D5 is almost 100%. Whereas, you know, here you will have more missed shots than shots in focus. You know, obviously depending on how fast the bird is moving. So it might be just a little bit of exercise and frustration if you use this for birds in flight. Now in video mode, the shortcomings here don't seem as bad, and overall I've been very, very happy with how this focuses in the video. The video autofocus in the Z7 is just so much better than any other camera before it. It's actually very, very usable video camera, and when paired up with these Z lenses here, you know, the focus doesn't, I mean, the focus doesn't hunt back and forth whether you have older Nikon or the Z mount Nikon lenses. You know, it's just able to track the subject, it seems perfectly and silently. That's important too. I guess if it missed the autofocus, we just aren't able to spot the moments when autofocus misses it, as the scenes are fluid and moving. So it does struggle a tiny bit focusing when the lighting is low. So in conclusion, the handling of the camera is great. You know, maybe Nikon tried to change too many things, maybe not. But so far the Z6 and Z7 are, you know, they've been on the market for a while, and it's going to be interesting to see what cameras, you know, Nikon is going to release next. You know, I also want to add that Nikon is finally putting some pressure on Canon and Sony in the video category as well with these cameras. You know, I've started to see many Nikon shooters picking up a Z6 or Z7, you know, even though they still have this D800 or the D500. You know, it's more like they're picking them up to complement their gear lineup. So, you know, if you shoot nature, portraits, landscapes, this is the camera I definitely recommend. If you shoot video, the Z6 is enough. You don't have to get the Z7. Now, if you shoot kind of both the photos and videos, then you can't go wrong with the Z7. You know, unless you need a front focusing screen, as this only tends to tilt up and down. So if you're a blogger, you know, get like a Atomos Ninja or something, or get a camera that flips the screen to the front. Now, I mean, so that's it. You know, I've used so many cameras. I've been using Nikon, Canon, Sony, Panasonic, Fuji. So, you know, I've gained a bit of experience with all of them. And I can say that I do like this Nikon a lot. I mean, that's definitely a camera. If you took all my cameras away, you give me this Nikon, there's really nothing to complain. You know, the ability to shoot 4K video in full frame, this beats Canon EOS R. Also, we have the 10-bit analog output through HDMI, so if I want to use the external recorder, welcome to do that. If I want to shoot weddings or events, I can use that camera for that. The only thing I probably wouldn't use this for, like I mentioned above, would be birds in flight. And not that it's terrible, but I'm just, you know, if you're used to a higher keeper rate, then this camera might not cut it. Overall, obviously it's excellent. I'm still waiting for a grip, and I do wish that the lenses here that they offer would get cheaper, because they're horrendously expensive. I guess this was it. This was SLR Tom. Thanks for watching this kind of my rant and my opinions on this. I might get some heat that I missed some points, but you know what? Just go out there and get shooting. So rate, subscribe, share, and see you in the next video. See you guys.